inside of us. And it's wonderful when we have the courage to tell it.
And the truth shall set you free!
Welcome to 8192 The Truth with Brother Sand and the Godfather. Subscribe to the show on iTunes, Google Play, and anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can also follow the show on Twitter at 8192 The Truth and on Facebook at facebook.com/8192 The Truth. Now, here's your host, the Godfather, Joel D. Supernog.
So, one of the people that I didn't get to know as long as I would have liked to know him, because he had a big impact on my life, was Pat Sutton. It was Chael Sutton's dad, who gave me and Chris Lausche, who was my partner at USA Auto, and Matt Lindland, our stake into owning our own car dealership, where Team Quest would eventually start out of the back bay of the dealership. And boy, man, I only knew him for 3 years, and he was fun, man. He was fun. One of the things I liked about him the most is I get up really early. And nobody's up really early. I mean, I get up at 5:30 in the morning, sometimes earlier. There was never a time that I called Pat Sutton that he wasn't awake. And I would, after I got to know him, I would call him and I would start with, "Pat Sutton, you handsome son of a bitch." And he would just start laughing and we'd have a chat. And then he passed away way too early for me to know more about him and kind of learn more from him. But he was a neat man. He really was. And I was in Las Vegas at one of these fights, or maybe I might have been in Las Vegas just on a gambling spree. I don't recall the particular trip that I was on. Now, one of the things I like to gamble on sports. Love gambling on sports, and I love to play high dollar blackjack. It does not interest me very much to try to win $500. I want to get them. I want to play a nickel a hand. I want to go after those boys. And the only time I've ever won a bunch of money is when I went after them. Well, this particular time, man, I'm beat. I'm down several stacks of high society, and I'm about ready to bag it. And then a gentleman sits down. Gentleman sits down right next to me, a little bit older than me at the time, quite a bit older than me at the time. But you know, pressed shirt, pressed jeans. I mean, he looked good. I mean, he looked good. And the reason I say that is Pat Sutton always had his shirt it always looked like it just came out of the dry cleaners. Pants, creases in them. Just wasn't extravagant, but he was always dressed really, really well. And this old boy was too. And you know, he's got a good personality. I'm ready to bag it. I always play third base. No, I'm actually playing third base. I'm sitting at the third base slot, and he comes in and he plops down on the middle. And we're playing a little bit, and I notice he's not playing right. You know, he's not hitting on 14. I mean, there's a way you play blackjack by the book, or you just generally either go by luck and give them your money. I mean, that's just the way it works. The odds, if you play blackjack correctly, you have the best odds possible in gambling. That is considering everybody else at your table is also playing it correctly. So if 3 people are just going off of the reservation, it doesn't matter how well you play at third base. You can only do your level best. Normally, when a guy is, you know, splitting queens against a queen, or not hitting on 13 when the dealer's got a 9 showing, and third base has got 18. I'm gonna get up and leave. But I said, all right, I like this old boy. I've been hit long enough. Let me just write it out. A gal walks by. He looks at her and says, "Local girl, lot of talent." And I'm in at this point. I like this old boy. I tell him right off, "Hey man, you remind me of a friend of mine." I let him know he passed away soon. I said, I'm gonna sit here and enjoy it with you. Whatever you're betting, I'm betting. He's betting a nickel a hand. So fuck it. I'm gonna bet nickel a hand until I've got about 3 stacks left. I'm gonna be out of there in a minute, but I'm gonna ride out with this old boy. And then he says, "Hey, don't worry, kid. We're here for a good time, not a long time." And then I'm like, all right, this is Pat. I'm sitting next to Pat. And, it went back and forth. I think I ended up losing a nickel over the course of an hour, which is a lot. That's a lot of play at a nickel a hand. That's a lot of action at a nickel a hand. And I think that old boy, I think he won a couple grand playing just as stupid as you can possibly play. He played stupid. I played by the book. I probably won him that money by playing that way, but it didn't matter. But I'll never forget it. He said, "Hey kid, we're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. Local girl, a lot of talent." I tell you that story because, Kevin was out in New York last week at the week of the Chael fight, and we had been talking about something, and he said, he threw some marbles at me, and I asked him if that make him feel better, and he said, "Yeah," and he said, "You have so many stories, and I don't have any." So I wanted to tell you guys a story. About Pat Sonnen. I'm sure all of you have a Pat Sonnen in your life that made a pretty big impact on you, and he just wasn't around long enough, or she wasn't around long enough. So I thought I'd tell a Pat Sonnen story. Now on to young Sonnen, Chael P. Listen, man. One of the coolest things about being in this really, really weird spot to where I opened up back bay of the car dealership to some guys that were starting out in a sport called mixed martial arts, and man, a ton of them became legends. The godfather of all of them is Randy Couture. You go down the line to Dan Henderson, and then Matt Lindland, and then Evan Tanner, and then Chael Sonnen, and then Nate Quarry and Lieben, Ed Herman still fighting. Man, and I know I'm leaving out a ton, but that's a heavy load right there. That's a lot of people that were really, really successful in this sport. And one of the things that I learned from them, and most of them were wrestlers, one of the things that I learned from them was, man, losing a fight isn't no different than losing a wrestling match. You lose a wrestling match, you go back to your locker, you go somewhere quiet for about 15 minutes, you get inside your head, and you let it go. Yeah, man, the big ones are gonna come back, and they're gonna cause you some restless nights sometimes. They're gonna cause you to turn the speedometer up a little bit more on the treadmill. But overall, man, it's put to bed about 15 minutes later. I learned that it's the same thing with losses with these guys. So I wanted Chael to win. It would have been great had him got to the finals and fought Bader for the championship, but it didn't go his way. He got clocked early. I love the way he picked himself up, and man, when you get hit that early, that hard, whatever happens afterwards. Man, whatever. He got off his ass 4 or 5 times, and he made it a fight. He did the best he could, but afterwards, he put it to bed. And just like a wrestling match, it's going to cause him some restless nights. But at the end of the day, he's fine. I'm fine, and we're all fine. So the week of the Chael doesn't end that well, but in a lot of ways it does. Okay, when those guys started fighting in the back bay of the dealership, it'd take them all 2 or 3 years to make what Chael made on Saturday night. So at the end of the day, it's called prize fighting, and they handed him a prize. So good for that young man, and good for his dad. You did well, the two of you. Ricky Simone is another friend of the show's, mentor to Lad, and another guy pulled out of a fight with Ricky. And before Ricky has won 3 UFC fights in the past 6 months, I believe. 2 anyway, no 3, whatever it is. He's had a wonderful year, and I had him on the show before. He talked that he was ready to hang it up at one point because he couldn't get any fights. People keep pulling out of fights, and sure enough, he's supposed to fight November 4th, and his opponent pulled out, and he can't get anybody, and they scrapped the fight. And I stole the line from T. Wood, who I'm sure he stole from somebody else, that said, nobody wants to smoke. So as soon as Lad told me that old boy pulled out, I said nobody wants that smoke. And now Lad can't quit saying nobody wants that smoke. And that's true. True enough, nobody wants that smoke. All right, we have our boy Anthony Smith coming up next to get the 8192 crew on a new winning streak. He is 10th in the world, and he is going to smash Volkov. Oh boy, Ozda can't. Whatever the dude's name is. Anyway, Anthony Smith, the Lionheart, is going to put the woodshed to that old boy and keep climbing the ranks. Very excited about that. Hopefully Jake Smith will be back soon, and he'll be fighting. Chris Liebman's fighting in a bare knuckle fight. On that same card, we have old boy Ed Herman, who's been around forever. Good cat. We'd be rooting for him. We got DC and Lewis coming up in less than a month. That should be fun. Listen, it shouldn't happen. It should not happen. Mr. Lewis is an 8-1 underdog. It should not happen. But Matt Serra knocked out GSP. Holly Holm kicked old Ronda's head in the next week. It could happen. And if you're a betting man and you're on top of your money, throw it out there. See if it'll come back to you. Major League Baseball playoffs. Man, I ain't going to talk about that. Listen, guys, I'm going to take some time. I've had an opportunity presented to me that is going to require that 100% of my focus is on that project. And when I say 100%, I mean 100%. For those that you send me messages and tweets and this, that, and the other, forgive me for a moment. Until the end of February, I'm going to be underground. I'm going to be building something. And I'm going to leave it to Kevin and Kyle to continue onward and upward. And remember, baby, we ain't here for a long time. We're here for a good time. Peace, baby.
You've been listening to 8192 The Truth with The Godfather. Subscribe to the show on Apple Podcast and follow the show on Facebook at facebook.com/8192 The Truth.
Guys, you have heard me talk about them before, and I'm going to keep talking about them again. Project Build Your Life Daily. It is our newest show sponsor, and their products are phenomenal. I am currently taking the Test Booster, the Fat Burner, as well as their pre-workout. And guys, I'm telling you, it is all natural, it is all clean, and it works. I get clean, clear, sustained energy in my workout without the crash at the end. It tapers off very nicely. I typically work out in the evening, so I'm taking the pre-workout at 6 o'clock, and come 8:30, 9 o'clock, I have no issues sleeping. These products are fantastic. The ingredients are clean. And the company's mission could not be more in line with our show. Project Build Your Life Daily. Like the Godfather and I always say, you're either one day in or one day out. Get yourself in with Project Build Your Life Daily. They are offering listeners of our show 25% off. That's huge. That's 25% off your total order with the code THETRUTH at checkout. So go in, buy some protein, buy some Test Booster, whatever it is that you need to help get you to the next phase of your health and well-being. Throw it in the shopping cart, go to checkout, use the code THETRUTH. 25% off your total order. Anything that they sell, supplements, protein, workout gear, t-shirts, whatever it is, 25% off, guys. You cannot beat that. And I'll tell you what, just a little thing from me to you, that Test Booster, all natural, but boy, oh boy, is there a little extra lead in my pencil. I'm telling you what, guys, Project Build Your Life Daily. Check out their website. Check out their page on Instagram. It's Project BYLD. Again, use the code THETRUTH at checkout. Save yourself 25% off. Who's better than that? Boom. Well, there you go, guys. You heard it straight from the mouth of Joel. We had another good Godfather story about Pat Sonnen. And we got some news from the Godfather about his future on the show, which I was sad to hear. Hopefully, it means good things for him here in the coming months, and I know we're going to see him back in the future. But it was sad to hear that we're going to lose him here for a while on The Truth. I definitely want to keep the program rolling. I think we're doing some good things. We've had a good year. Had some good guests with Randy Couture, Anthony Smith. We've had some great people on here, and I think we really can be a platform to not only talk about a lot of the things that we always do, whether it's mental health and fitness, but really be a platform where we can try and continue to bring some young up-and-coming UFC, Bellator, MMA fighters on, because I know that a lot of them are looking for an outlet to get their name known and to get their story out to the fans. And I definitely think we've got a venue where they can do that. We've got a good listenership, a good following, and I think we can be a good place to continue to promote fighters, promote events, and just get together once or twice a week and talk about the things that are going on in our lives and in the world around us, and how it relates to our mission, to mental health, to one day at a time, one day in or one day out, and just overall personal empowerment and personal betterment. So where I see the show going in a slightly different direction is still covering many of the same topics that we've always covered, whether it's the fighting, the fitness, the pop culture, the world around us, as we always have. I would like to take it a little more in the direction of exploring what is the truth about whatever topic may be at hand. I find myself to be a deeply introspective, philosophical type guy, a seeker of greater understanding. So I would like the opportunity to really explore what is going on in the world around us. What's the root of it? Why is society responding the way they are to certain things? Why are certain things happening at all? And how are those things truly impacting our ability to be one day in or one day out? Our ability to seek a greater sense of self, a better version of ourselves. So that's where I see myself taking it. Because though Joel and I have very similar interest in many things, you've also seen where we have had some varying viewpoints on topics such as politics and some other things. So I'm glad that you guys have been along for the ride so far, and I appreciate every one of you. And I just hope you'll take the chance to stick around just a little bit longer, as I will be reaching out to the listeners, for show ideas and topics that you might like discussed in greater detail, some topics you might like me to research and bring some knowledge to the masses about. So thank you again, and I look forward to what's coming, and we'll see what we can do here until we get the opportunity to bring the Godfather back around.